Hey guys, welcome back to another one of these. And what I mean by these is just a video where just me and you talking. Antonio was supposed to be here, but he had some stuff going on. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to put anything out today, so I figured why not just put one of these out again. We are talking about anime again. I know I said I didn't want to make them all about anime. When we did a video like this before, but I watched an anime today and it kind of had me wanting to talk about not just the anime itself, but there's a discussion in the community of anime or manga or manhwa or so on and so forth about Chinese and Japanese animation studios. This anime in particular is a Chinese anime. You cannot watch it on Crunchyroll or anything like that. You have to either download a Chinese app, which I don't have the name for because I watched it from a Elijah site. don't want to incriminate myself here, but not a safe site because it's not on any legal American sites, which sucks because it was actually very good, and I would recommend most people to go ahead and head over and watch it. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the studios and the difference in earnings and quality and quantity and all that kind of stuff, but we'll get more into that throughout the video. But the anime that we're talking about from the start, that started, made me want to make this video in the first place, is called The All-Devouring Whale. If you guys see me looking to my left, it's because I have a couple cliff notes that I wrote down, so they're off to the left side. It's called The All-Devouring Whale. It's a Chinese anime. The first episode just dropped last week, so I'm not super sure about how the quality of the rest of the show will be, but as of now, it is pretty damn good. There was a few parts in there that I think because of the site I was watching it on, the subtitles were a little bit off here and there. Nothing that ruined the experience. It just really sucks that's not on a site like Crunchyroll or something like that, because it's hard to trust the subtitles. The overall story made sense with the subtitles that were given, so I'm assuming they were correct. But I'm just saying it was a little weird sometimes. Some of the things didn't translate over the best, but it's okay. I still understood the premise, understood what was going on, and so on. But the basic premise for the All Devouring Whale is that in this, I don't want to say feudal, but this old China world, old Chinese architecture and clothing and so on and so forth, they have these fantastical spiritual pets that have abilities, and I'm not really sure what role they play into the entire world yet because I've never read the original source material. But I just from the first episode, it seems like they help with your standing depending on what kind of pet you have. Again, that could be wrong, could be right. We'll see as the show progresses, because the main character, when he first comes in, he like is shown, he runs a dojo basically, but for, I'm guessing, martial arts and these spiritual pet control, because it starts off and people are calling him master. He's a younger guy, and he has his spiritual pet, which isn't shown until they enter this competition. It moves really quick, but it's not in a bad way. The pacing doesn't feel like fast pace. It's like just showing the world without exposition, which I love. That's one thing that I'll give Chinese anime, is you don't get the same exposition that you get in a lot of Japanese anime, where it's like an action is taken and then we get a 30-second monologue in the head about what's going on to explain to the watcher what's happening, like, because the watcher's an idiot. It's not all, obviously not all Japanese anime, but it's a lot. I mean, even big ones like Demon Slayer and JJK are guilty of this. Which, again, it's okay. It's not a big deal, but I did like it. It showed the characters. They fly off to this what seemed like a competition between spiritual pets, and and then they show the spiritual pets and what happens. It all happens really quick. But I believe it's called the All Devouring Whale because the main character's spiritual pet is a catfish that is way larger than a blue whale or a sperm whale, whatever the largest whale species is. But it's obviously as a spiritual pet, quote unquote, grows, it also gains power, and I'm guessing the catfish in particular gains size. But apparently his family has a secret for helping these catfish gain power, yada yada. Doesn't really matter too much. I'm not going to go too much in the story. Check it out for yourselves. It's really good. The first episode is 31 minutes long, which, by the way, out the gate, another awesome thing that I really liked. I'm so tired of the 22-minute animes, and that's not counting the intro, the recap, the end credits. So you're really only getting 17 minutes of a show every episode. So it's again refreshing to get multiple animes recently, Chinese and Japanese, that have popped off with 51 and 31-minute episodes, straight out the gate. But we'll talk about that more down the road. But anyways, basically during this competition, like I said, I'm not going to spoil too much, but stuff goes wrong, his whale goes crazy, and he dies, or catfish, whatever. And then he comes back as a new person, not reincarnated, but into the body of a person who's clearly already existed in the world that they're in. A year has passed since his death, and the news of what happened at that competition went around the world. The entire world kills all the catfish so nobody else can use it as a spiritual pet to stop an incident like what happened in the show from happening again. Is what, again, subtitles could be off, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah, he's in the body of a different person that's already been living the life, and he has to deal with some of the consequences of whatever that person was doing. And he actually finds one more catfish remaining in this world, and he immediately makes it a spiritual pet. I don't know if that's the way I would go right after what happened. Again, not going to go into what happened. I'd like you guys to just watch it. I don't know if that's the route I would go, but he seems to have a plan. I'm not sure. But yeah, so it's basically a reincarnated spiritual pet. The fighting animation, I would give it a solid 9.5/10 out of 10. The overall animation, I'm not going to speak too much on because I would say it's very average for a higher end anime. It's not like the lower end, like the typical isekai crap that, there's 16 of them dropped every season, but it's not, as I said in the last episode, Demon Slayer level or anything like that, but it is still very high quality throughout the anime. Because there's always a difference. You can't consider fighting, in my opinion, you can't consider fighting animation and the animation through the non-fighting scenes under the same, I don't know how to say it, basically the same rating. Because when at the end of the day, you got fighting animes that are really, really good during the fighting animation, and then as soon as the fighting is done, it's downhill immediately. They put all their budget into the fights, which I respect, to be honest. I would rather have a really good fight than, like we talked about last time, PowerPoints. So I will give this one, for the normal animation when it's not fighting, I will give that a solid probably 8.5, 8. And then the fighting animation was fantastic. I'll give it a solid 9.5, 10. It was really good overall. I don't really have any complaints, but again, it's only episode 1. We'll see how things progress. The next episode comes out Friday, May 7th, I believe. Is that Friday? Shit. I don't have my dates in order, but it comes out this coming up Friday. If you're watching this video, it's May 4th, so, do the math. I probably got that wrong, but it comes out Friday. But yeah, so that is a Chinese anime. It's produced by a Chinese studio. I can never pronounce it properly. It's like Bilibi or Bibli or something like that. I probably should just looked up the pronunciation before I made the video, but it's made by it's a Chinese anime that's very good. And that's kind of what got me into this conversation, not between anybody, but when you read through forums or you read through videos of Chinese and Japanese anime and stuff like that that's been coming out recently, you'll notice that there's kind of a debate, and I don't know why. Just like Japanese studios pop off with Demon Slayer, JJK, Vinland Saga, Hell's Paradise, and so on and so forth, Chinese studios can also pop off. It's not about which one is better. Because if I'm being honest, again, this one was very high-end anime, not perfection when it came to the normal animation, and then the fighting was another high-end anime. I wouldn't put it above Demon Slayer because, again, I honest to God think that Demon Slayer is the highest rating when you can come to overall animation, and that's because they set the standard almost. I'm not going to talk about Demon Slayer too much here, but I'm just saying, like, it's very high on the end of the fighting animation, but it's still not the best in the world. You know what I mean? Which got me into more of Chinese anime, because, you know, Link Click, for example, you've got your Super Cube, which is a newer one that also came out. I wanted to include that, but I haven't seen enough of what's out already to give you guys a good review. I've only seen the first episode. That's my bad. Maybe we can go into that in a future video. But from the first episode, it was fantastic animation as well. And then you got your Immortal King, which was actually animated by a Chinese studio and then a Japanese studio. Both did fantastic jobs. But yeah, it's for some reason becoming this thing where people are arguing over who's doing better. And because China came out with this popping off anime, people are now saying, well, Japanese should follow in these footsteps. And it's like, what do you mean? Japan has been popping off with great animation for years. It's okay for them both to do well. I don't know why everything has to be a competition. But because it is, I thought I would talk about it. For me, personally, like I said, I don't think it is a competition. It's two different countries producing high-quality animation. Yes, Japan pops off with a lot of bad stuff, but they have a lot of small studios that are producing animes for mangas that are lesser known, and they're being, they push out quantity, and it sometimes the quality does take a hit from it, but these are a lot of the times small studios. From the research I was seeing, like for example the All Devouring Whale that was made by Bibli has 8,000 employees. Obviously not all animators, but I'm guessing they do have a larger animation team. And then you have companies like Mappa that have only, like, I believe 500 employees in the entire company. So it's not just animators, that's 500 employees total. And they're producing things like JJK, Vinland Saga, Hell's Paradise, and stuff like that. Stuff that's animated fantastically. And I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm just saying, like, studio size does matter, and people are expecting the same quality, quantity that's being put out from much larger studios all the time. I don't think it's a big deal that sometimes you gotta wait, or sometimes there's a small quality drop. I think the anime community in general has been very spoiled lately, and they expect that to be the standard. Is this insanely high quality anime, like Solo Leveling. It wasn't crazy high quality outside of the fights, right? It was a higher end, just like the other one, just like the All Devouring Whale. It's a higher end outside of the fights, and then the fights are 10 out of 10s. So people expect that quality everywhere when that's just not going to happen. You have many studios, you have many artists, you have many animators that are from small, large, and medium-sized studios. You can't expect the same quality all the time, and especially when you take in their salary. Japanese animators are paid extremely bad. There's actually a New York Times article about it. The average animator, I believe it was making around $22,000 a year. No, $26,000 a year, or less, which is very terrible, especially when you take into account the amount American animators make. Chinese animation teams make less than that. so it's probably cheaper to make an anime in China. I haven't looked too deeply into the cost that goes into Chinese animes. I know they still do a lot. I think it was, from what I did read, it was a 52 episode series cost about I think it was $4.5 million, something around USD. Obviously, it's different. You'd have to do the currency transfer over, but it's like $4.5 million, which is quite a bit of money. People don't realize how much money goes into these things. I believe it was $125,000 for each episode of Solo Leveling. That's a shit ton of money. So you got to take all these things into account. They have to prioritize certain episodes over other episodes if they want to keep the quality for the fights or for certain scenes that need higher quality than others. Some things have to be downgraded, sadly, to make up for the money, because those were just production cost numbers. I didn't see the marketing numbers. I didn't see the merchandise making numbers, all that kind of stuff. All of those things come into account at the end of the day. But as just for production, $4 million is a lot of money. I know we think that studios like that shit that out, but most of the time studios don't make a lot of money back. So if you're spending $150,000 an episode and you make a 14 episode series, you're paying out a big chunk of change, and you need to get that big chunk of change in order to keep the quality for the next season. And you can't you can't break even, because again, those are just production costs. There's a lot more money that goes into these things than just production. The one thing that just to go back to the earnings section, I'll say this: it did look like Chinese studios, their animators got paid less than it goes Japanese studios and American studios. Obviously, like Walt Disney and stuff, those guys get paid a lot of money, and their teams are huge. So that could be affecting not the quality, but the amount that can be put out with the quality that it has. If you can pay somebody less for the same work, you obviously can put more out with the same quality and keep production going. And then when it came to the studio sizes, on average, the Chinese studios that are putting out these big names like the Immortal King and the All Devouring Whale and Supercube and stuff like that, they are larger studios. I think the first season of Immortal King was actually made by a small studio of like only 200 people. So hell yeah for them. They killed it because the first season was done very well. But that doesn't seem the average. It does seem like Chinese studios that are putting out these newer, better animes. Not better than Japanese, but like better animes than what has been seen in the past, I guess is the best way to put it. From China specifically, it does seem like those studios are quite large. And then Japanese studios seem to be smaller, putting out quality, but also putting out quantity. So that seems to be why sometimes there's a little drop in quality in certain episodes. Like I remember people were bitching for days about the JJK episode where Sukuna fights I can't even remember the name of that shadow summon thing. The white dude with the clock behind him, or the little clock gear thing behind him. You know what I'm talking about. There was a quality drop in that, but it's like, yes, they put out 24 episodes on top of putting out multiple other projects in the same year. I think it's okay. I think we're being a little spoiled when we sit there and complain. You wanted the content fast, but if there's one small dip in the quality, people cry about it. And I get it. It's a little upsetting when the product that you've been waiting for years for isn't to exactly what you were expecting, but at the end of the day, it was still really good. The quality was still there. It just wasn't as good as it could have been. Yeah, so it seems overall that Chinese studios are slightly larger. They have to pay a little less. Not a lot less, just from the numbers I could find. Again, this could be incorrect. I could be searching the wrong places. But from what I could find, it seems like their studio sizes are a little bit larger, they pay a little less, and then on top of that, they aren't putting out the same quantity when it comes to actual animes. It seems like the studios work on a lot of other things other than animes. They're like, for example, Ghibli is not just an animation studio. They are kind of like almost like a Netflix in the loosest terms. I don't mean they are a Netflix, but they do other things like Netflix. You know what I mean? They put out other kinds of content and stuff like that. So, they have a larger team and more money to throw. Overall, there's big differences between the Chinese and Japanese animation studios and the teams they have. But at the end of the day, as long as they're both putting out quality, even if China isn't meeting the quantity, it's still putting out quality. I don't think it should be a debate. Just like both. China's putting out some quality things, and hopefully they will continue to put out quality, and we can get best of both worlds, because China has a lot of I don't want to kill the word, but it's like manhwa. They've got some good quality manhwas, which is the Chinese equivalent to mangas, and they deserve recognition, just like Japan has a lot of mangas that deserve recognition, and Korea has the same thing. All these different countries, they have all these good source material content that could be turned into animation that should be put out there, and it shouldn't be a competition. Let's just enjoy what we're getting. Respect that these guys are killing themselves to put out this content. They work long hours, and they don't go home a lot. And I was reading the story about one guy who basically lived at work. You know what I mean? So it's respect the content you're getting. I wouldn't complain or make this a competition. Just be happy we're getting more. To get away from that part of the conversation again, it's called The All Devouring Whale. The premise is really good. The fight was really good in the first episode. And I would check out other things. Like, if you haven't seen Link Click, very good. The Super Cube, the first episode was very good. Again, I'm not going to go into that because, again, I haven't seen past the first episode. And then Immortal King, that's another one. There's a lot more content out there from Chinese studios. Go give them some love just like you would your Japanese studios. Don't make it a competition of who's better or who should be getting your viewership. Just enjoy both. It's okay. Overall, I'd say that China's on the up. Japan has been on the up, and I hope they stay on the up because I want the same content from them as well. If there's a show that you guys would like me to talk about or recommend or think I missed out on this new season drop, leave it in the comments. I would love to check it out. I could do a review on it, or maybe not a full review on just that one, but a review on multiple. I'd love to do that content. We'll be back with not an anime review, but an end of season type deal for the couple animes I talked about in the last video, which again was they're all pretty good. If you're curious about what they are, check out the last video, and we will talk about how those series ended and if they kept up with quality, and how they turned out overall. We won't do full-on reviews. We'll just talk about them really quick and move on, and then we'll include these Chinese animes as well. And we can go a little deeper into Super Cube. I'll pick it back up, and we can talk about that one a little bit as well. If this is the kind of content you guys like, if you want to see more of it, if you want to talk about other things, not necessarily anime, leave a like, subscribe, leave in the comments what you want to see, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.